So one of the biggest challenges about being over here in Turkey, waiting for the boat to be ready, is obviously managing the time that I'm allowed to actually spend here. So under current tourist visa, it's a maximum of 3 months, and then when the 3 months is up, I have to be out of Turkey for another 3 months before we can reset the clock. So, you know, if I'm honest, the boat's probably not going to be ready till, well, the best very end of January. I arrived here at the beginning of November, so that's potentially almost 2 months. And when I say the boat's going to be ready, that means it's just going to be on the water. And then we've got the whole process of getting familiar with it, boat trials, and finally leaving Turkish waters, which is only a month, and that's cutting it a bit tight. So I've made the decision I'm going to head to the UK, catch up with some family over there, probably spend a couple of weeks there, and then I'll come back and just see where things are at. I do find that by being there every single day, it's quite hard to really gauge the process or the progress. So by going away for a couple of weeks and then coming back, I think it'll give me a far better idea of exactly where things are at. So in this video, I'm just going to take you for a quick walk through the boat, show you some progress that has been made. And the last video that went out, we talked about the noise on the 41 as it was backing up and the clanking of the gears. So that's had quite a bit of feedback. First thing is that Dave, who gave us a bit of a briefing on it over in England, as it turns out, so I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I thought you'd want that info. He's the go-to for anything mechanical on boats and has just worked with engines, powertrains, gearboxes, the whole lot, all his life. So the guys over at Nordhavn Europe thought we'd get him in and see if he could shed some light on what that noise was. And a little bit of feedback from people that have seen the video. We had a couple of 41 owners come back and say they've never experienced it. So I guess that means they're giving it the beef and backing into their berths rather than just sitting just that little bit out of idle. So I'm going to talk to Dave about that and just see if he's got any comment for those that have never had that noise, because that does seem a little bit strange. But anyway, hey, thanks to everybody that is putting comments in, really enjoying those. I get back to everybody. Criticisms, hey, take those on board anytime. More than happy to receive those. And thanks for your support, those of you that have subscribed to the channel. We're, you know, if you have a look, we're over 700 now. And I don't know, when I started doing this, I really just wanted to create a record of the adventure for the future. It's a great way to store it on YouTube, and it's a great way to tell the whole story in a timeline. But it looks like a lot of other people are interested in it, and they demonstrate that, I guess, by subscribing. And the more you subscribe, it's funny, you get hooked on it. I'm actually really enjoying making the videos, and part of that, in a way, I suppose, is seeing the success or otherwise of the videos that you make. So if you do it, please do subscribe and keep those comments coming in. I'm really enjoying them. So there's so many little parts that go into the boat, and not the least, of course, is all the bits and pieces of cabinetry. So this is the paint shop, and every little bit is made, finely sanded, fitted, brought back out, and then finally it is stained prior to being put into the part of the boat that it has to go. And the next bit is a couple of cabinets that sit in the guest room under the saloon, and we'll show you very soon how they actually put the final touches on that and then finally fit it. But here it is in the paint shop, and it's got that final little paint job on it before it goes to the guys actually in the guest room to attach some of those other smaller bits. And I think this chap here is being trained, as I've talked about before, in the boat building industry over here. There's not a lot of young people coming through. There are some there, but they're being taught all the time by the people that have been building boats forever, I guess, or for their whole careers. So in the guest room, here we are with the cabinet about to go into that little slot just behind that chap's head with the blue top on. I think that's the grey water tank under that, so they still have to be able to maintain access to get at that. So each bit is gets the little markers put on the cabinet to make sure that it fits perfectly, and then they glue it and screw it and then remove those markers. Had a couple of comments sort of saying, you know, gee, it just seems to take so long to get anything done, but when you look at it like this, you just can't rush this kind of work. They've got to be really careful. Anybody that's done a little bit of drilling with those battery operated drills, you know you've got to be super careful, otherwise you can just drive the screw in too deep and then it'll poke out the other side. But here's two guys working. You know, that's what they're getting done. As you can see, there's not going to be any room in that cabin for anybody else to be doing anything. So you've just got to go with the flow and let things happen at the time that it takes. But they're really careful. You can see the boss there just keeping an eye on things, making sure it's all done properly. And I guess the time span that I videoed this was probably 20 to 25 minutes. So there's one cabinet, 3 items being put on it, and then it being fitted into the space that it has to go in 20 minutes. And then you've got to start the next job. You know, you've got to go and get the bits, you've got to get it cleaned up, the area that you're in. And it just all takes time, and particularly with that first build on a boat. I've really noticed that the 41s now, they're just pumping. When they put the top deck on, which happened to ours probably 3 months ago now, they just get in there and all the cabinetry's in, they know where it goes, they know it's going to fit, and it appears to me like most of it gets sprayed in situ. Whereas with the 51, they got to fit it, they take it out, they do what spraying that they can, and once they're confident that it's going to fit, then they can put it in and spray the big panels and that around it. So looking around these guys, you can see all that brown on the ground and on the side, that's all finished underneath that. So when you pull that off, you can imagine everything around there would look totally finished. So as always, it's actually further on than what it at first appears, but always pretty pleased when they see that they've done the job. There she goes. And I must say, everything does fit very well, so good job, I guess, doing it that first time, eh? Thumbs up. And here's the floor for the saloon, that curved bit on the right hand side that goes under the couch on the starboard side of the boat, and that's that laminate teak that is obviously laminated onto marine ply, pretty thick, looks like about 18 mil. In the engine room, wow, these guys, they've got a tough job. I was down in there watching them, and you'll see soon, you know, they're on their backs half the time, they're having to tie back all the wiring in looms along the tracks, and in the end there's a really neat job done, but it's pretty fiddly work. And as you'll see in a video in a couple of weeks' time, that area that they're working in is now finished. So all that's had to be done, the generator pops down through that space above their head, comes in out of the saloon, and then all that work's covered up, and I mean you simply just couldn't get at it without removing the generator. So very fiddly work, and it's a big part of the build, it really is, all the work in the engine room. And they've just started on the radar mast. So you can see there, it's a mast that goes on top of the fly bridge. And here are the CAD drawings for it. So they've got to build all that steel jig underneath what will eventually just be the plug. It's quite a process. I'll try and explain it as best I can. But that is the frame for it. So that's all cut out by CNC and put on that metal frame. And then that blue stuff just in the distance, it's like a foam. And they build the exact thing that would go on the boat. So that is the mast. And then you'll see again in a video later how they plaster over that, and all that's creating is the plug. It's called a plug. And they do this on all parts of the boat, for the hull, for the top deck, everything. And then they cover that with fiberglass, and that turns it into the mould. And then out of the mould, finally, you are able to actually fabricate the final product. And here's all the cabinetry. They're well ahead of themselves. That's about 3 boats worth for the 51 and probably more actually for the 41. But you've got a whole machine shop just basically building this stuff continuously. And they store it, they fit it, then they paint it. And I mean, there's lots and lots there. So it's a big inventory. Some of them you'll see, like this bit down here. It's pretty complicated. It's a complicated build, man. That's amazing cabinetry work there. Pretty intricate building. As I said before, everything's curved, angles, sloping. And then they just store it all until they need it. Here they are fitting one of the trimmings for the hatch onto the foredeck. That's from the master stateroom downstairs. And of course, once they've done that, you get the whole unit that sits on the top that can be opened from the inside. So it is, it's coming together. Just bits and pieces. You can see off to the left there, or your left, the masking over the pilot house windows. On the back of the boat, the stanchions, we looked at those in the last video. Wire to go through those. That just provides a bit of safety on the back of the top deck, so it'd be pretty easy just to back up there and fall off the edge, to be honest. But that's a finished product going on the boat, which is always good to see. Straight ahead there, the steering station now installed for the flybridge. So they worked on that for days just to get it perfect. It looks absolutely beautiful. Glued and screwed. Doesn't look like that gets fiberglassed on. I thought that might have happened, but I'll ask about that. And here on the flybridge on the side is the mounting for the VHF radio. Those posts supporting the top deck, as I said before, the water off the top deck comes down through those. And this was a bit sad. So we've shown you all the welding on the stainless steel, and then it all has to come out. So they welded it, make sure it all fitted. And then on this day, kind of sad, out it all comes. And if you have a look at the number of joins there, you can kind of see it there. There's probably, 100 at least. They're going to go out to an external shop. So they're going to put all that on the truck, and they take it away to an external shop, which is actually quite good, I guess, because it's another team working on that. And they weld all those joins and polish them so that you get that lovely smooth curving edge between the rails and the posts where the joins are. And they do a beautiful job of it, man, but it takes time. So that was good progress, wasn't it? They all went on. It looked good, it was kind of encouraging, and now off it all comes. I don't know, I felt a bit sad about that, if I'm honest. You felt like they were taking the boat apart again, but when they come back, they will be all done, and the good thing is it probably took them 10 minutes to take all that off, so I guess that probably just means 10 or 20 minutes to put it all back on again, but I was just heading off for lunch, actually, with the workers when they started doing this. So I stopped. I'm standing just outside the workers' cafe. They all get provided this beautiful 3-course lunch. There's always soup, always meat, rice, salad, and then there's the dessert as well. You get a lovely rice pudding on some days, baklava, which is a really, really sweet dish, bit like the one we have in Chinakale. And we showed you that earlier. So that bit that they're just taking off now is the railing around the starboard side that holds the life draft, and it's a storage place for some of the fenders. But there you go. Awanui NZ, unfortunately, being taken apart again, but that has to happen. Anyway, next bit of a treat, because I went out for the weekend with my landlord and he took me uptown, and these are Pdays. They are beautiful, all sorts of varieties. They're very careful to explain that they are not pizzas, quite different to pizza. And Belent, sitting on the left there, took me to his favourite Pday shop, and it's amazing. These guys work so hard. That chap on the left, who's loading up all the Pdays, that's the pizza oven. Oh, mustn't say pizza. That's the oven in behind it, the Pday oven. He works 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and he makes between 200 and 300 Pdays per day. Well, I did the maths on that, and for the period of time that he's been in that shop, I'm suspecting he's one of the owners, that is over 3 million Pday. You can see him there just pushing it in, and he manages all of that. So when you order a Pday, they just call it out to him, or to these guys, from the counter, and they remember what the Pdays are that have been ordered, and they just start making them. And I mean, you know, they work. Look at the pace they work at. I mean, this video is not sped up. They are just at it. And there's a lot of chit chat backwards and forwards between the guys that are cooking it and the guys that are serving it. But this is just a neat experience. Anyway, I had to show you this. This is how we're mowing the lawns over here. This is in the middle of a really busy road. 7 guys with their lawnmowers, and at least 5 kilometres of this just in that area. And they're fast. They're about as fast as a ride-on with all 7 of them going. But yeah, I had to show you that. I thought that was kind of cute. Anyway, I'm off to the UK. I'm going to Southampton, the Isle of Wight. There I am at Waterloo Station. So in the next video, I'll give you a bit of an update on my trip to Southampton, Nordhavn, Europe, and then across to the Isle of Wight. So again, hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm going to keep telling that story.